INS Vikrant is an aircraft carrier constructed by the Cochin Shipyard Limited at Kerala for the Indian Navy. It is the first aircraft carrier to be built in India. It is named Vikrant as a tribute to India's first aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant. The name Vikrant means courageous in Sanskrit. The motto of the ship, Jayamasa Yudi Sprda, means I defeat those who fight against me. Up to 26 MiG-29K fighter jets along with 4 Kamov Ka-31 helicopters or 2 HAL Drevna utility helicopters or 4 MH-60R multi-role helicopters will fly from INS Vikrant. At a 262-meter length, with a top speed of 28 knots, an endurance of 7,500 nautical miles, the ship has 2,300 compartments manned by 1,700 seamen. It has a hospital complex, cabins for female officers, 2 football field-sized flight decks, 8 kilometers of corridors, and 8 generators capable of lighting up a city of 2 million people. Work on the ship's design began in 1999, and the keel was laid in 2009. The carrier was floated out of dry dock on December 29, 2011 and launched on August 12, 2013. Basin trials were completed in December 2020, and sea trials started in August 2021. Her commissioning ceremony was held on September 2, 2022. Aircraft flight trials will be completed in 2023. The total cost of the project is approximately $230 billion at the time of first sea trials. Background: in 1999, Defense Minister Jorge Fernandez authorized the development and construction of an aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant, under the Project 71 air defense ship. By that time, given the aging Sea Harrier fleet, the letter of intent called for a carrier that would carry more modern jet fighters. In 2001, Cochin Shipyard Limited released a graphic illustration showing a 32,000-ton stowbar design with a pronounced ski jump. The aircraft carrier project finally received formal government approval in January 2003. By then, design updates called for a 37,500-ton carrier to operate the Mikoyan MiG-29K. India opted for a 3-carrier fleet consisting of 1 carrier battle group stationed on each seaboard, and a 3rd carrier held in reserve, in order to continuously protect both its flanks, to protect economic interests and mercantile traffic, and to provide humanitarian platforms in times of disasters, since a carrier can provide a self-generating supply of fresh water, medical assistance, or engineering expertise to populations in need for assistance. In August 2006, Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Arun Prakash stated that the designation for the vessel had been changed from air defense ship to indigenous aircraft carrier. The euphemistic ads had been adopted in planning stages to ward off concerns about a naval buildup. Final revisions to the design increased the displacement of the carrier from 37,500 tons to over 40,000 tons. The length of the ship also increased from 252 meters to 262 meters. Design: the indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant is 262 meters long and 62 meters wide, and displaces about 45,000 tons. It features a stowbar configuration with a ski jump. The deck is designed to enable aircraft such as the MiG-29K to operate from the carrier. It is expected to carry an air group of up to 30 aircraft, which will include up to 24-26 fixed-wing combat aircraft, primarily the MiG-29K, besides carrying 10 Kamov Ka-31 or Westland Sea King helicopters. The Ka-31 will fulfill the airborne early warning role and the Sea King will provide anti-submarine warfare capability. Vikrant is powered by 4 General Electric LM2500 plus gas turbines on 2 shafts, generating over 80 megawatts of power. The gearboxes for the carriers were designed and supplied by Alecan Engineering. The ship's combat management system was developed by Tata Power Strategic Engineering Division in collaboration with Weapon and Electronics System Engineering Establishment in Mars, Russia. It is the first CMS developed by a private company for the Indian Navy, and was handed over to the Navy on March 28, 2019. Carrier Air Group. India considered a number of aircraft for operation from its aircraft carrier, INS Vikramaditya, and the planned indigenous aircraft carrier. India evaluated the Russian Sukhoi Su-33, but chose the lighter MiG-29K as Vikramaditya was smaller and lacked an aircraft catapult. On January 18, 2010, it was reported that India and Russia were close to signing a deal for 29 MiG-29K fighters to operate from IAC-1. In addition, the Navy signed a deal for 6 naval variants of the indigenous HAL Tejas. In June 2012, Flight Global reported that the Indian Navy was considering the use of the Dassault Rafale M on these carriers. On January 6, 2022, the Indian Navy started testing the Rafale M for operations from INS Vikrant at the shore-based test facility at INS Hansa in Goa. Some reports citing the same also indicated that the Boeing F/A-18E/F Super Hornet would be tested at the same locale in March 2022 and December 2016. The Navy announced that the HAL Tejas was overweight for carrier operations, and other alternatives would be looked at. The Navy settled with MiG-29K as the primary aircraft for the IAC-1. In late January 2017, the Indian Navy released an international request for information for 57 multi-role carrier-borne fighters. The main contest was between the Boeing F/A-18E/F Super Hornet and the Dassault Rafale M. Both these aircraft are operable on the Vikrant and Vikramaditya. In December 2020, Boeing demonstrated F/A-18E/F operations from Indian carriers at the shore-based test facility at Naval Air Station Patuxent River in Maryland, U.S. In mid-2020, the Navy announced that it was seeking 36 fighters instead of the initial 57 proposed due to budgetary constraints. After the HAL Tejas and the Tejas Mk2 were considered overweight for carrier operations, the Defense Research and Development Organization introduced a program to develop a twin-engine, carrier-based, multi-role combat aircraft called the HAL twin-engine deck-based fighter for the Indian Navy. A model of the aircraft was displayed at Aero India 2021. The first flight is expected in 2026 with induction into the forces by 2032. The DIDF is expected to perform multiple roles like combat air patrol, air-to-air combat, anti-ship strike, and buddy refueling. This aircraft has also been envisioned to operate from the INS Vikrant, INS Vikramaditya, and the future aircraft carrier INS Vishal. Construction. Vikrant is the first aircraft carrier to be designed by the Warship Design Bureau of the Indian Navy and the first warship to be built by Cochin Shipyard. Its construction involved participation of a large number of private and public firms. The Defence Metallurgical Research Laboratory and Steel Authority of India Limited created facilities to manufacture the DMR 249 grade steel in India. Reportedly, 26,000 tons of 3 types of special steel for the hull, flight deck, and floor compartments were manufactured at the Bokaro Steel Plant, Jharkhand, Pila Steel Plant, Chhattisgarh, and Rourkela Steel Plant, Odisha. Due to this, Vikrant is the first ship of the Indian Navy to be built completely using domestically produced steel. The main switchboard, steering gear, and watertight hatches have been manufactured by Larsen & Toubro in Mumbai and Talegaon. High-capacity air conditioning and refrigeration systems have been manufactured in Kirloskar Group's plants in Pune. Most pumps have been supplied by Best and Crompton. Bharat Heavy Electricals supplied the integrated platform management system, which is being installed by Avio, an Italian company. The gearbox was supplied by Alecan Engineering, and the electrical cables are being supplied by Nico Industries. Fincantieri provided consultancy for the propulsion package while Russia's Nevskoy Design Bureau designed the aviation complex. The keel for Vikrant was laid by Defense Minister A.K. Antony at the Cochin Shipyard on February 28, 2009. The ship uses modular construction, with 874 blocks joined for the hull. By the time the keel was laid, 423 blocks weighing over 8,000 tons had been completed. In August 2011, the Defense Ministry reported to the Lok Sava that 75% of the construction work for the hull of the lead carrier had been completed and the carrier would be first launched in December 2011, following which further works would be completed until commissioning. On December 29, 2011, the completed hull of the carrier was first floated out of its dry dock at CSL, with its displacement at over 14,000 tons. Interior works and fittings on the hull would be carried out until the second half of 2012, when it would again be dry docked for integration with its propulsion and power generation systems. By late 2012, work commenced for the next stage of construction, which included the installation of the integrated propulsion system, the superstructure, the upper decks, the cabling, sensors and weapons. Launch. In July 2013, Defense Minister Antony announced that Vikrant would be launched on August 12 at the Cochin Shipyard. The ship was launched by his wife, Elizabeth Antony, on August 12, 2013. According to Admiral Robin Towan, about 83% of the fabrication work and 75% of the construction work had been completed at the time of launching. He said that 90% of the body work of the aircraft carrier had been designed and made in India, about 50% of the propulsion system, and about 30% of its weaponry. He also said that the ship would be equipped with a long-range missile system with multifunction radar and a close-in weapon system. After the launch, Vikrant would be redocked for the second phase of construction, in which the ship would be fitted with various weapons and sensors, and the propulsion system, flight deck, and the aircraft complex would be integrated. Undocking and fitting out. Vikrant was undocked on June 10, 2015 after the completion of structural work. Cabling, piping, heat and ventilation works were scheduled to be completed by 2017 with sea trials to begin thereafter. By October 2015, the construction of the hull was close to 98% complete, with flight deck construction underway. The installation of machinery, piping, and the propeller shafts was in progress by January 2016. It was reported, however, that there were delays in the delivery of equipment from Russia for the carrier's aviation complex. By May 2017, the carrier's fitting out was 62% complete, with trials of the auxiliary systems scheduled by late 2017. In February 2020, all major structural and outfitting work was declared complete. Harbor and sea trials. On October 31, 2019, Cochin Shipyard received a $30 billion contract for the Phase 3 of the project. This contract included funds for the harbor trials, sea trials, and support for the ship during its weapons and aviation trials after its delivery. In December 2019, it was reported the engines had been switched on. By September 2020, Vikrant had completed harbor trials while the basin trials started from October 2020 to check propulsion, electric transmission, and shafting systems. On November 30, 2020, the basin trials were completed, paving the way for sea trials, the final phase of the IACI project. In April 2021, it was reported work had begun to integrate the long-range surface-to-air missile on board Vikrant. On June 15, 2021, Vikrant was moved to the Ernakulam wharf in Kochi, Kerala. On August 4, 2021, sea trials finally began. The first phase of the sea trials was successfully completed on August 8, 2021. The second phase of the trials was conducted on October 24, 2021, followed by the third phase from 9-17 January 2022, both of which were completed successfully. On July 10, the fourth and final phase of the sea trials was successfully completed. This phase involved integrated trials of most of the equipment and systems aboard Vikrant, including portions of the aviation facilities complex. Completion and commissioning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi commissioned INS Vikrant on September 2, 2022 in a grand ceremony at Cochin Shipyard. Earlier, INS Vikrant was delivered to the Indian Navy on July 28, 2022. Flight trials of its aircraft complement are expected to be completed by mid-2023, after which the ship will be fully operational. In March 2020, it was revealed that after its commissioning, the Navy will deploy Vikrant at Larsen & Toubro's shipyard in Kattupalli near Chennai. This was done as the planned naval base in Rambilai near Vishakhapatnam was not ready yet. The Navy wants to lease a 260m berth at Kattupalli shipyard for 8 years between 2022 and 2030 for interim berthing of the ship, by which time the naval base at Rambilai is expected to be available. Commanding officers.